Awesome. Awesome.
Right.
What about like you talked about weak password policies? What if a password is a strong password but it is leaked? What about breach passwords?
So for breached passwords, there are services online in which you can test, and I'm sure if anyone here has used a modern browser, I'm sure you've probably gotten this warning before of this password has been seen in a data leak. There are services out there that weren't, and it's slipping my mind right now. There in the Cognito, there's a sub-service that can check whether certain passwords have been seen in a data leak. But in general, I always tried and true. It's that one XKCD comic where uh, to bypass the dictionary attacks, just having a short sentence with some characters switched out for words, uh, something that rhymes, something that you know with a common first name. Those are the best passwords, and my default is, hey, you got 15 characters. That's three words right there with like an exclamation mark for an I or a zero for an O, something like that.
I see. I see. As I've told, there is something called compromise credentials detection for Cognito, and people they can
Yes.
enable that. And also, we would suggest to use passphrases instead of passwords, because they're hard to beat actually.
Yes.
And we can mention other stuff such as lack of email phone verification. We can require users to verify their identity. Also, uh, I mean insufficient OAuth scope control, but that's great. And as you told, lack of MFA. I've seen that a lot actually, especially with regular users. But I believe we have an ASVS item that it says that we should enforce admin users to enable MFA.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. I can't remember the number of it.
Yeah, exactly. And for sure, also you should pass the token over HTTPS. And the other question is that how does AWS Cognito's approach to password policies and multi-factor authentication compare to other identity providers? And what additional steps might be necessary to meet the security requirements?
I would say Cognito offers strong support for customizable password policies, similar to other providers that are also security competency partners of AWS, such as Okta or Auth0. It integrates very easily with other AWS security services. As for some additional steps, I'll give a couple, and I actually want to pass that over to Farshad as well to see what some things that Fort Security might keep in mind. I'd say passphrases, number one, over passwords, not using the word password as a password, um, requiring some form of MFA for all users, and then demanding hardware MFA for anyone with some form of administrative access, especially the root account. But even if it's just two with a password and a hardware token, that a hardware like a UFI device or a YubiKey or anything like that, I would very strongly recommend that for anyone that has administration access, and then just email or text is just fine um, for non-administration access. And I would say I didn't mention brute force attacks, but we have WAF, the web application firewall, for any sort of brute force attacks as well. I'm going to pass this a bit to Farshad. I want to hear
I
forward
think I think
thinking.
you've covered it pretty well there. I just the only thing I can add is what you said. I just want to like echo that again is the passphrase over password, right? So recently NIST has upgraded their guidelines. I can't remember the name of is it 863B? It's one of those ones that was related to authentication, and they're saying that got to go with passphrases. So, I think in the past it was like, hey, yeah, I mean, it's nice if you do that, but I think now that stance is pretty solid. So something for people out there to keep in mind, right? Because you want something that, the whole password complexity thing doesn't work because what ends up happening is people use character substitutions that attackers know as well, right? So you're like, I'm going to substitute the letter A with the at symbol, or I'm going to, use a four for an A, or et cetera, et cetera. But they know the same substitution. So enforcing that in uppercase, lowercase, that kind of stuff just isn't great practice. It's better to have long passphrases. So